you were the first Chinese actor in Broadway, in the A cast at the time.
Luckily.
What does it mean to you personally?
It's a lifelong, experience. That concentration, that company's energy, almost like a boat carrying me through each night.
You studied Peking opera, traditional Peking opera. You went to a musical conservatory of music, and you went to America. What was pushing you at the time to work so hard?
You're not content. What are you doing? Almost like you prepared yourself to the future to find the best suitable way of express yourself.
Now you're a professor, you're an educator yourself. What kind of actors do you personally want to train in the future?
Well, the best actor you want to train them is capable to be working in any situation, and especially for the kind of readiness and openness to be able to learn new things.
Luo Wang, the icon. The old building behind me is actually the earliest recording studio in China, extremely important in the 1930s and 40s, and now it's been turned into a theater. Mr. Wang Luo and his students are now working on the final touches of the musical West Side Story.
如今这世道要想生存下去，就必须冷静。你看你这个强调特别多。如今的世道要想生存下去，就必须要冷静。就是你这个 Scar、Lion King 里面，就是什么拳头都会，整个这块地方你都用上啊。所有人，你比如说你跟他，你把所有人都点着。
These are second-year students at Shanghai Theatre Academy's Music Center, founded by Luo Wang. The students are asked to stage a full-length Western musical at the end of this semester. This is where Mr. Wang comes in, giving the students a much-needed boost of confidence on top of the feedbacks.
I think it's great that we can stage a full-length version of the West Side Story merely as sophomores. Learning musical has developed our singing, dancing, and acting skills.
When Mr. Wang is on the set, everything goes just so smoothly. He not only gives us oral feedback, but also shows us and inspires.
Mr. Wang is very confident and enthusiastic. When we get tired in the rehearsals, he shows up full of energy and gives us a lot of encouragement. His presence is like a shot in the arm, and everyone comes alive.
We will never forget you. They cut you away from your dead. You stay again.
Great show, West Side Story. I can't believe they were only in the second year of their college university.
Right. The kids from all over China, some are from the city, some are from the countryside. As a matter of fact, for this group of students, a lot of people come from Jiangxi province, mountain area, Yunnan province.
Mountainous area, remote areas. Not from the big cities, but what you're teaching, what you're now doing is something fairly new to the whole country over here. Musicals, right?
Right. It's new. We are very green. We started officially in 2012.
I've seen musicals before. It could be in New York or in London, and then this time around, it's basically Chinese young actors performing right in front of you. And that feeling was totally different. But at the same time, I feel it extremely difficult. I can imagine, if put myself in those shoes, I can imagine how difficult it is.
It is very difficult for the triple threat. You make all the singing, dance, acting together. The dance part is more like West Side Story. It's difficult show. A very, very challenging harmony, singing in choirs, different harmony.
This music to tell a story, that kind of performance, is a Chinese tradition. But with the younger generation, they want to hear more modern beat, different varieties, lyrics, maybe little spicy, that kind of a little bit controversial. But they like to see something more fresh, more sting.
Something different.
Yeah,
something
it's new, different. So that kind of market right now, I don't think is ready yet.
All right.
There's no long-running shows in China except for Acrobat's company.
So you're not also educating the market.
We are trying to
creating a market,
preparing for the market.
Yeah.
For instance, we do the show.
Yeah.
We invite community leaders, community workers come to see our show. Schools, educators come to see show from college all around the Shanghai nearby us.
Right.
So we are trying to branch out to communities, let them to see message-wise, story-wise, and even social issue-wise can really happen to help them.
If we come back to your own story, I mean, sometimes why you think the way you think now is because you had your experiences. You studied Peking opera, traditional Peking opera. You went to a musical conservatory of music, and you also studied right here.
Right.
This is your school, your university.
Right.
And you went to America, and you made your break with Miss Saigon. All these experiences adding up together, making who you are today. But if you go back to those early days, you were mentioning, basically about motivation of these young people. When you were a teenager, or even younger than your students today, what was pushing you at the time to work so hard?
I would say family is the first.
Family influence.
Yeah. My dad was a military man. He was very, very disciplinary. I mean, he's mean. Every time say something on time. I mean, I was really, really in the kind of a disciplined environment. Often I heard my dad's side's war stories, anti-Japan invasion time stories, all those kind of a lot of horror stories. I mean, how a man survived from there. His friends, his soldier friends lost their lives. So very early on, that kind of a disciplined mind. A man, you have to do you promise to do. A man, you have to finish the work you supposed to do. That part thing I think I got from my father.
But nothing artistic.
Then my mom would be reciting poetries.
Okay, that is artistic.
And then it's like listen Mozart. And my mom plays piano.
All right.
And it's like you see, okay.
Military side and piano side. Mozart.
It's like a yin yang, you gotta,
The real balance.
Right, it's kind of nice, but serendipity. I didn't know.
But why Peking opera?
Peking opera was like totally accidentally stumbling into it. I heard some of my friends would audition for the Beijing Opera School, and the only thing I knew was they know the somersaults. I said, wow, I couldn't do it. I want to see it. And then the teacher called me, said, you, come in. I said, what? Do you want to audition? I said, no. Then why are you coming? I said, they're my friends. I audition, I don't know, I can't do the somersaults. They said, what do you do? How can, you can show us? And some guy said, hey, he can play flute. I said, no, that's very little. I mean, just play a little song. No, I couldn't do it. One of the teacher gave me a flute, said, play it. Of course, that was like the last moment to can withdraw. I said, sure, I played. They said, good. They measured my arm, measured my leg, asked me to jump around. And out of like I would say 12 kids, I was the only one got in.
Sometimes I was just wondering, hey, what happened to this guy? On each stage, what was the biggest incentive that's pushing this guy moving forward, even as young as a teenager at the time? So what was the word you would think of now, in those days, pushing you, work so hard, going forward?
You know, where I really remembered all those big pivotal moments for me in my life was teacher, instructor. You know, I bumped into this violin teacher. He became a conductor. Every time when we doing the rehearsing for a piece, he would say, Lu Yong, you should use your ear to see it. Whenever you hear the music, you should totally see the harmonic of the instrumental orchestrating. You should see the note. When you read the note, you should hear it. When we were young, he said these things to me. And that constantly, when we play basketball, finish the game, grab our ear to the studio, asking us to practice. And telling us those stories with the poetry. Talking about cinema, the sceneries, and the music. Every time you play a note, he gave a story. Almost to me, that kind of storytelling through all my Beijing opera, classical music teachers, they all talk about it. Almost my mom, those kind of poetry reading, somehow equipped me into that burst of the wonderful sound of music. Almost like your inner kind of very little sprouts of a standard being planted by those teachers in you, and all of a sudden you found that something really echoes within you. It's just the right thing you want to do. You want to express.
American dream, Schlitz down the drain.
Luo Yongwang's acting career peaked when he was cast in Miss Saigon a decade ago. Prior to that, no Chinese actors had ever been cast in a major role in a Broadway production. Yet the journey to Broadway was an exceptionally bitter one. Just as he thought he was about to begin his acting study after arriving in the US in 1986, the university cancelled his scholarship and advised him to quit because his English was deemed insufficient for study.
I was in the world time, was really thinking about borrowing money and buy a ticket to come back. My instructor, Rick Ney, he was acting teacher and I was director. He was doing Peter Pan. And I was in the hallway miserably like a stone, sitting there, didn't know what to do. He said, Lu Yong, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He said, I heard you're not allowed to study here. I said, yes, my English is not ready. He said, well, I got a part for you. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm doing Peter Pan. I'm casting a girl play Peter Pan. I need a Tinkerbell, a boy. Someone who can do somersaults. Don't need to speak the line. I said, what?
That's your job, right?
I can do that. He said, yes, that's what I think. And then, believe it or not, in Louisiana State University, the Baton Rouge newspaper, with my big picture on it, said, Tinkerbell by a male light up the house. So all of the experience become such advantage for me.
Now everyone knows about your experience with Butterfly, with Miss Saigon, and it was such a huge success. And you were mostly basically you were the first Chinese actor in Broadway, being the A cast at the time.
Luckily.
And especially with Miss Saigon, it lasted for 5-6 years.
Yeah, over 6 years, right.
But it was such a huge hit. What does it mean to you personally?
First of all, it's a great learning experience. To be able to experience that well-managed, well-trained, quality, well-maintained show like that, it's a lifelong, experience. That's really, really dream work environment. Of course, you learn from acting bit, to learn the language, to learn the music style, to work with the composer, Michel Clouchamberg, all those, coaching, directing, Nicholas Heitner giving me notes talking about how should I be more speaking the song rather than sing the song. Story. It's totally stories. But that to me, when I was told by my teacher, coached by my teacher, you still feel, well, you're not in the battlefield. When you go into rehearsal, 2 days before the opening, you all of a sudden, your whole system, almost like an airplane engine, starts to spin.
Right in tune.
Right. Then you go into it, come back with a minor adjustment, you go back. Oh my goodness, that concentration, that company's energy, almost like a boat carried me through each night.
But we're talking about 5-6 years. We're talking about thousands of shows. Did you get bored?
Yeah, always. When you doing the weekends, that's the most difficult time. Your vocal cords getting tight. When you go on, you feel like, oh my goodness, my body's tight. And then you only have 1 day off before hit to the end of the week. You always feel like you don't want to go to the theater. Sometimes you're like a kid, want to skip the school. But then when the stage manager from the speaker intercom call, 5 minutes please, 5 minutes play places, actors places, Luyong, Leia, so-and-so places. You walk out of your dressing room, little hallway, and then go to the wing, you hear the vibe in the theater. All of a sudden it becomes so quiet. Almost that quietness, like a magnetic skin thing, sucked me into the kind of a focus. When the helicopter started, you immediately back to 70s.
You were in the mood again, right away.
Right away. And then when you go on stage, you see those absolutely devoting eyes looking at you. Right. Then you become a part of it. Your picky, tired self disappeared. Yeah, Laurence Olivier said, actors, stage actor, healthy, happy, and being good. What do you do? And the next one is luck. You don't know what happened.
When his contract with Miss Saigon terminated in 2001, Luo Yongwang made the decision to return to China and take part in the then blossoming TV scene. Immediately, he became one of the country's A-list stars. The production that won him most acclaim is Jiao Yu Lu. In the TV drama, Luo Yongwang plays a 1950s Communist Party official who is devoted to helping the local people to fight against poverty.
我娘就说过，天上一颗星，地下一个人，谁要是做了善事儿，他那颗星准是亮的。
Yet his love for the stage never diminished. In 2009, Luo Yongwang was cast as Mr. Rochester in the drama Jane Eyre, produced by Beijing's National Center for the Performing Arts. The drama was so well received that it celebrated its 100th run in 2014. Interesting, so far when we talk about all the major moments when you made a major decision for your life, you attributed all that to all the instructors, all these very important role in your life, in your career, or you call it luck. So when we come down to this next major decision, what played the important role when you decided to come back to China again?
Yeah, that's something to do with the kids. You know, I have two lovely kids, my daughter Olivia, my son Julian. When I was in New York, all those time, I feel like I tried to make it. You know, I hit my jackbox, you know, in New York. And then when the Saigon closed, I immediately thought of what I'm going to do. A lot of the time, my kids, you know, so in love with my Broadway friends, so-called Americans. I see the distance with them to react with my Chinese friends. You always feel that little hesitation. They don't want to hang out with them. I feel bad about it. I feel like, yeah, they live in America, they are in America. I don't want them just spoiled or to have that image about China. I feel like I don't want to force them.
You don't want them to lose their, say, cultural roots.
Right, the connection. And all of a sudden, one day, they're watching a martial arts movie. I said, wow, that's so cool. I'd send them to Sunday school Chinese class. They always pretending they're sick, they're headache. They didn't want to go. But all of a sudden, they learn the martial arts lines from a movie or television. Then they said, you know, Dad, that's cool. And then that was the time I said, gee, I can do that because Beijing opera techniques I learned. So a part of me is want to making a true connection with my kids. I started to come back to take some acting gigs. First thing I came back was the Kong Yiji, at the Beijing People's Theater. Personally, I always want to get in the theater. And in the 80s, no way we can get there. So in the early 2002, they produced the show. They asked me to do it with a very beautiful hyphened poetic language. And then I thought my kid, with the costume, my daughter, just love the color, hang out in the backstage with me. And I feel like I can make them more comfortable with the Chinese stories. Little by little, I see there are so many differences in terms about the preparation for the part, how the ensemble were to work. A lot of a big head, spoiled actor's mind, the big shots, kind of a pretentious, kind of a, I would say, unprofessional behaviors.
Yes, I mean the art world, the theater art world at the time was much different from when you left.
Right, exactly. Become a box office, people paying much more than
more commercialized.
More commercialized than I left in the 80s. So a lot of the time, youngsters come to me and say, oh, Mr. Wang, you coming from America, you from Broadway? I said, no, I'm a professional actor. Just tell me, what do you want? I have this scene, I don't know how to do it. So I started helping those young kids. A lot of the time, when I finished my shooting, or while I was waiting my shooting, movie shooting, waiting's long. So I helped a lot of young kids. I was saying, gee, those fundamental things why they're not teaching in school. I start to wondering the school training. So the school invited me to come back to give a speech. I went to the school, talked to the kids. They were so excited. I observed the classes, and I see some improvement, but I also see something I can help. That's how I started working in the show business here. Little by little, I did feel, wow, there's a voice to help those young kids. At least for my own, personal little mind. Maybe when I retired, I want some well-trained actors we can work with.
Now you're a professor, you're an educator yourself. So what do you want to achieve as an educator? What kind of actors do you personally want to train in the future?
The best actor you want to train them is capable to be working in any situation. Hopefully they can work internationally, domestically, experimental work, something commercial, something. In China, there's so many, the population's so big. Audience needs are so complicated, so many. But if you just do one kind of a music or one kind of acting style, it's not enough. When I was training actors, camera, they should know it. Stage, they should know it. Spoken drama, they can do it. Musical, they'd be able to do it. One-man show, they can do it. Anything. So the more they can do, later on, the more they can be useful. That's something probably for my training background. My teacher instilled all the techniques in me, not only one kind. And especially for the kind of readiness and openness to be able to learn new things.
All the best wishes, and thank you for sharing your stories with us, and maybe next time we will be sitting together with your students too.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. Darkness wakes and stirs imagination. Silently the senses abandon their defenses, helpless to resist the notes I write. For I compose the music of the night. Slowly, gently, night unfurls its splendor. Grasp it, sense it, tremulous and